Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. I'm Dharma Helper, and this is DH Reviews. This is my Season 1, Episode 11 review of Constantine. If you missed any of my other Constantine reviews, there will be a link in the description of this video, as well as an annotation behind me on the screen. You can click either of those, and they will take you right to the Constantine playlist that has all of my reviews in it. If you're interested in my thoughts on any of the other series I review, I'll leave a link in the description of this video as well to all of the other shows that I've been reviewing for you to check those out. With all that being said, Season 1, Episode 11 of Constantine was called A Whole World Out There. And in this episode, Constantine reunites with his old friend Richie from the Newcastle group in order to save a bunch of students who have inadvertently sort of dabbled in some dark magic involving transportation to new planes of existence. And stuff like that Richie was getting involved in and talking about. And so they kind of inadvertently transport themselves to this new dimension where this psycho is basically killing them. And so Richie and Constantine have to work together to save who they can and stop this guy from killing all these kids. And the episode mainly deals with the repercussions of that reunion of Richie and Constantine reconciling their differences and working together. Constantine talks about how Richie was pretty much the only guy in the Newcastle group that put him in his place, that kind of recognized him for what he was as far as being a person and not, worshiping the ground that he walked on, but kind of offering an opposition to Constantine. And so that kind of plays into the episode as well, that relationship between Richie and Constantine. And, a theme with the series in terms of dealing with Newcastle has been presenting Constantine with the Newcastle group people and then, having them hash it out. And they do that a lot in this episode in terms of finally clearing the air between Richie and Constantine. So that's kind of the story of the episode. Let's talk now about really the only kind of two characters in the episode, Constantine. Let's start with Constantine. And in this episode, Constantine, we've been talking about this a lot in my reviews and stuff like that, but Constantine deals head on with the guilt that he's been living with, not just with Newcastle, but with people like Gary and what happened to Gary and all these sort of things that weigh on Constantine on a daily basis and that he doesn't necessarily deal with, but he deals with it in his way. And I thought that was kind of interesting to take a look at up front and have the show sort of up front tell us about how Constantine deals with these problems and how he's wallowing in the past. And, he's got that mirror where he's drinking with Gary and all that stuff. And that was kind of cool to take a look at. And again, to kind of drive home that point that Constantine deals with these things and he carries this guilt about not just Newcastle, but about his impact on people and this sort of loyalty that he inspires in people that ultimately leads to their downfall. And I think that was a huge part for him in this episode, dealing with Richie as well, because he's back to his sort of manipulating ways of, getting people around him to do the things that are dangerous. He gets Richie to take them to that dimension, even though that's a little bit dangerous. And it almost looks like, he's playing Richie up and getting Richie to sacrifice himself like he got Gary to sacrifice himself. When the moment comes where they're all leaving and Richie doesn't want to leave. And it felt like maybe old Constantine would have let Richie stay in that sort of state and sort of shoulder the burden of sacrificing Richie in that way and allowing him to escape into that new world that he was building at the end of the episode. But, new Constantine, he's growing, and maybe that's one sacrifice too many for him. He can shoulder the burden of the stuff that he's done in the past and everything like that, but maybe that was one step too far for him, and he's starting to really rein that in. And that was interesting to see from Constantine in that aspect of it. Is, how far is too far? What sacrifice is not worth making? And it's going to be interesting to see the effects that Zed has on Constantine, and the effects that this battle with the Rising Darkness has on Constantine, and his willingness to sacrifice people, and the way that he carries himself moving forward. I think Richie is going to play a huge part in Constantine's plan for the Rising Darkness, which is why I think one of the reasons I think he sort of encouraged Richie to leave the world that he was about to create and come back to the real world. But that's kind of Constantine for the episode, really, is just dealing with that guilt of all these people who follow him blindly and loyally and will do whatever he says and will sacrifice themselves for him, and the burden that he's being able to shoulder here up until this point. And then ultimately, again, I think coming to the realization that with Richie, that's one step too far. And it's time now that he stop being so cavalier about sacrificing people, about, being so selfish. I think his interactions with Anne-Marie in the previous couple of episodes sort of started him on that path, and then here we finally see him realize that something has to change. And that was really cool. I thought that was really cool to see that with Constantine. So let's talk about Richie now. And Richie kind of follows that mold of Newcastle people, in that Newcastle really affected him in a very negative way, and he sort of ran off and started to hide behind his teaching and his professor work, and also the pills that he got involved in. And what was interesting for me to see, I think, in this episode from Richie was the idea of having that escape. He escapes into his, medications and stuff like that, and then presented with the opportunity literally to escape into whatever world he could possibly want at the end of the episode. And I think that was pretty cool to see that he was able to make the decision to come back to reality. I think that's going to be important for him moving forward, and his character moving forward, in terms of making the decision to come back to reality. In the actual sense, and that he did it, he was actually literally in a new dimension, and he decided not to stay there. But then in a more deep character sense, how he's going to maybe, get off the pills and stop hiding behind his professor work, like Anne-Marie was hiding behind the nunnery and the all that sort of stuff with the church, and sort of get back into the real world and get back into his life before Newcastle. And I thought that was kind of an interesting idea, and I'm interested to see your thoughts on that, and your thoughts on whether or not Richie will be a valuable ally in the fight against the Rising Darkness. I think that's, for me, that's where that's heading. With Anne-Marie, with Richie, with Constantine, is getting this Newcastle group back together, because Constantine is going to need help fighting the Rising Darkness and the Brujeria and all this stuff. So seeing now, not only did Anne-Marie sort of reshape herself and get new confidence in herself and grow and learn from the Newcastle experience and survive finally that Newcastle experience, but now Richie as well has also kind of broken out of whatever funk he was in with the pills and all that sort of stuff as a result of Newcastle, and now he's able to come back into the real world and move on from Newcastle and offer, help in the Rising Darkness. And I think that's going to be their ultimate redemption, not only for Anne-Marie and Richie, but also for Constantine. Is going to be that redemption idea of we got it wrong at Newcastle, and this fight against the Brujeria is our chance to get it right and to make a difference. And I think that's going to be Richie's sort of role in these next I think it's 2 episodes left, isn't it? because there's only 13 episodes, and we're on episode 11, so there's only 2 episodes left. So this Brujeria fight is coming. So that's the characters of the episode, is Constantine and Richie, and their sort of back and forth, and the way that they kind of deal with the guilt and everything like that is an interesting comparison. So that's the characters of this episode, and with all that being said, I guess let's wrap up my thoughts here with just the general sort of thoughts on the episode. First and foremost, the visuals this episode were phenomenal. The visuals inside the real world and creating that tension about that character. I'm going to call him Ethan Rom, because he's Ethan Rom from Lost, and I don't remember the other guy's name. Creating the tension with that character and the sort of atmosphere of that character and the visuals with him in the mirror and stuff, that was really cool. That new dimension idea, that the house and the spooky sort of house, that was really cool. And then ultimately when Richie created his world, that set everything above and beyond and over the top in terms of visuals. One thing I really did want to bring out in terms of talking to you guys about it was the thing that really impresses me so far with Constantine is their ability to tell really consistent stories, but stories each week that have a different shift in tone or a different shift in theme. 1 week we'll get this Halloween sort of episode with exorcisms and possessions and all this stuff. Next week we'll get an episode with Papa Midnight, dealing with the Loa and voodoo and that sort of theme and that sort of tone and that sort of, idea behind magic. And then the next week we'll get some demons and some possessions and some, the episode with the Brujeria and the sort of Mexican folklore behind, demons and spirits and all that stuff. And then next week we'll get a sort of slasher episode. This was kind of a sort of a campfire story, slasher horror episode. And they're able to tell these stories really successfully, really consistently over the course of these weeks. And they're also able to weave the underlying stories of the episodes, of the series in these episodes very successfully. Every episode has an underlying theme of the guilt for Constantine or the Newcastle group or, what happened to Astrid or whatever the case may be. Each episode adds a piece to that puzzle while also telling its very unique story and dealing with a very unique aspect of this universe that they're building here with Constantine. And that's really impressive for me, was being able to see that. And I've said this multiple times, that Constantine is not just demonology and demons and all this stuff, but Constantine in the comics and in the show and in everything that Constantine is varying aspects of magic and varying aspects of the real world and the spiritual world and all this stuff. And they're able to articulate that much better than I could, and much better than I could have ever hoped that they were able to articulate that. They're able to articulate the different aspects of the Constantine universe very well. And that, moving forward into season 2, hopefully, is going to be something that I think sets Constantine apart from shows like Grimm or Dracula or, any other show that deals with this sort of spiritual scenario of the supernatural. And that was, again, a really, really solid highlight, not just in this episode, but throughout this whole first season. And as the season comes to a close, it's going to be important that they keep that in mind moving forward. And wrapping up my thoughts here, I hate to end on a sour note, but, it's got to be said that one of the weaknesses for Constantine has been these episodes where you'll get one character is out of commission or two characters are out of commission. They'll have an opening scene where Constantine or Chaz will say something like, Zed is at art class, or Chaz is off visiting his daughter, or something like that, where it's kind of awkward having to have these characters sit out an episode or two. And I think that moving forward into season 2, that's something that they're going to have to address and fix. They can't have characters sitting out episodes 1 week, 1 week or 2 weeks or whatever the case may be. They can't have characters sitting out episodes like that. And that's, probably the weakest aspect of Constantine in this first season was they never really fit a cast together for more than a few episodes. And that's something that I think they're gonna need to fix for this season and for next season. So, ending on a positive note, it was a solid episode. It was a really good episode. I thought the visuals, like I said, were on point. The villain of this week, the character, Ethan Rom's character, was, a solid villain and somebody that was really fun to watch. And they set up a lot of stuff, not only in this episode, but in the last couple of episodes. They set up a lot of stuff in terms of personal character development for Constantine, and then that final couple of episodes here. So moving into the last 2 episodes, I'm hooked and I'm ready to see what happens. And I hope you are as well. With that being said, guys, if this episode, leave a like so that I know I'm headed in the right direction and I'm doing the right thing here. If you have anything you want to add about the episode, hit me up on Twitter at the DH Reviews, or feel free to comment down below in the comment section. I love reading all you guys' comments. I read every single comment that comes my way. I respond to just about every single comment that comes my way. So if you want to comment about the episode, go ahead and do that down below. And let me know what you're looking forward to in these last 2 episodes, because it's coming down to the wire here with Constantine. If you want to share this video, get this video out there on Facebook, Tumblr, wherever you got to get the video out, Twitter, wherever you have to get the video out and share the video and grow the channel. I want to thank you guys very much for your support. Throw your support behind Constantine. Get on Facebook, get on Tumblr, get on Twitter. Hashtag Save Constantine. Let NBC know that we want a season 2. I want a season 2 so I can continue to make videos, but also so that I can continue to watch what I think is probably one of the better shows to come out of the fall season. And with all that being said, thanks very much for your support, guys, and your understanding here. We have a lot of videos coming out this week because I'm trying to catch up on a lot of the stuff that I've missed. So today is probably just going to be the Constantine video, but after today, it's probably going to be 2 videos a day instead of what I usually do is 1 video a day. So with all that being said, guys, thanks very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. And until then, stay tuned.